You're 20 feet down, tank humming, watching an octopus glide across the sand like it has nowhere in the world to be. It's testing a crevice with one arm, shifting color slightly to match the rock behind it, in no apparent hurry at all. Then it sees you. Half a second later, its whole body clenches into a fist. It fires off a jet, and it's gone. A streak of ink hanging in the water where it used to be. It just saved its own life, and somewhere in that half second, one of its 3 hearts stopped beating. That sounds backwards. This is the single most physically demanding thing the animal will do all day. The exact moment its body needs blood and oxygen the most. And its main heart shuts off. Not slows down, not skips a beat, stops. This is the story of an animal whose emergency escape comes bundled with a strange cost. Firing that jet interrupts its own circulation, at the exact moment its muscles need it most. First, let's fix what most people think they know. 3 hearts sounds like an upgrade, triple backup, extra safe, built like a submarine with redundant systems. It isn't. 2 of those hearts, the branchial hearts, exist for one job, pushing blood through the resistance of the gill capillaries so it can pick up oxygen. The third, the systemic heart, takes that oxygenated blood and sends it out to the muscles, the arms, the brain. They aren't backups for each other. They're partners, each handling a different stage of the same circuit. The blood itself isn't red, it's pale blue. Instead of iron, octopuses carry oxygen with a copper-based molecule called hemocyanin. It's not simply a weaker version of human blood. Its performance shifts sharply with temperature and acidity, and different octopus species have evolved versions tuned to very different oceans, from shallow tropical reefs to the cold deep sea. But moving that blood through the tight capillary bed of the gills takes real pressure, which is exactly why there are 2 separate hearts just to handle that one leg of the trip. So what actually happens when it jets? Jet propulsion looks simple. Pull water into the mantle cavity, then squeeze hard to blast it out through a narrow siphon, launching the body in the opposite direction. Newton's third law, with an animal doing the pushing. But that squeeze doesn't just move water. It also crushes down on everything else packed inside the mantle, including the veins carrying blood back toward the heart. Picture trying to keep water flowing through a hose while someone stands on it. Pressure inside the cavity spikes high enough that venous return gets choked off. The systemic heart isn't running out of energy to beat. It's running out of blood arriving to pump. No fuel showing up, no rhythm to keep. This is exactly what a team led by physiologist M.J. Wells documented in a 1987 paper in the Journal of Experimental Biology, monitoring heart activity directly in Octopus vulgaris while the animals jetted. Their finding, in essentially plain terms, firing the mantle this way generates enough internal pressure that it reliably interrupts the hearts. Not occasionally, reliably. The same research estimated the oxygen debt an octopus can carry through one of these episodes at roughly 22 milliliters of oxygen per kilogram of body weight. A small reserve, borrowed against, that has to be paid back afterward. Which is also part of why jetting works best as a short burst rather than a way to travel. Great for one escape, expensive to repeat. There's a wiring detail underneath this worth knowing. Each branchial heart carries its own small cluster of nerve cells, a built-in pacemaker called a cardiac ganglion, and these clusters help coordinate timing across all 3 hearts under normal conditions. The 3 pumps share something like a negotiated rhythm. But during a jet, that coordination doesn't really matter. Raw mantle pressure interrupts the circulation, regardless of what the nervous system is asking the hearts to do. Plumbing beats wiring in the moment that counts most. Here's a strange detail from that same body of research, worth flagging exactly as reported and no further. In one observation, a male Octopus vulgaris missed a systemic heartbeat the moment a female was introduced into his tank. One animal, one missed beat. Not nearly enough to call this a universal courtship response. But it's a useful reminder of just how easily that rhythm can be disturbed, danger or not. Why would a body evolve to allow this? One likely reason: jetting and breathing share the same muscle. The mantle cavity that pumps water past the gills for oxygen is the same cavity that gets squeezed to fire a jet. Octopuses never evolved separate systems for breathing and fleeing. There's only the one. And running it hard for an escape means it briefly can't do its normal oxygen-moving job at the same time. The interruption isn't a flaw bolted onto an otherwise clean design. It's the likely cost of a body that never split those two jobs apart in the first place. Compare that to squid, a close cousin that also jets for a living, but built differently for it. Squid bodies are long, torpedo-shaped, with stabilizing fins and elastic tissue that helps the mantle refill efficiently between pulses. Some squid species can sustain repeated jetting well enough to cover real distance in open water, something octopuses generally don't attempt. Same basic mechanism, very different price tag, because the two animals built their whole bodies around different bets. The squid bet on speed and open water. The octopus bet on camouflage, dens, and 8 arms built for crawling, and treats the jet as a last resort rather than a way of life. Fair point though, not everything about this is permanent or total. Later work following Wells's original findings suggests both branchial hearts can also stall or slow sharply during jetting, not the systemic one alone. And this isn't a medical emergency in the human sense. Once mantle pressure falls and venous return becomes possible again, circulation resumes. What repeated jetting does instead is stack up oxygen debt fast, which is exactly why jetting makes for a lousy way to travel and a good way to disappear for one crucial second. It's a little like holding your breath underwater, a short-term trade your body will tolerate briefly, then insist on settling. Except what an octopus is holding isn't air, it's its own circulation, which is exactly why octopuses would rather crawl than jet. Not laziness, not slowness. Every escape jet comes bundled with a temporary interruption to the very circulation keeping its muscles running. So it's a tool for emergencies, not a commute. So next time you see an octopus taking its time across the seafloor, arm over arm, unhurried, that's not relaxation. It's an animal that would rather keep all 3 hearts running normally than pay the price of a jet it doesn't need yet. It will still fire that jet the instant it truly has to. The fists clench, the ink, the vanishing act from the start of all this. But it treats the option the way you'd treat a fire alarm you can only pull so many times before something actually breaks. Fleeing was always on the table. It's just an option paid for, quite literally, with its own pulse.